This is episode 34. Today, we are going to talk about making money.
Side hustle, baby.
Yes, because money is the only thing that matters in life, and you need to make more of it. So we're going to talk about it. Just kidding. Ha ha ha. Uh, we're going to talk about just making extra money on the side of what you're already doing. Again, like with the idea of supporting whatever business or small business you're trying to go into, or maybe you're not trying to go into a small business, but like sometimes making extra money on the side can support whatever goals that you have. So frankly, Matt and I, neither of us have a ton of experience in making a lot of extra money online. So this is more of just like almost think of it more as a brainstorm session or just kind of surrounding the topic versus us having a lot of personal experience with this. I don't know, like uh for me personally, and I hope that no one from work is listening to this, but like I am trying to make a living off of music, and part of what I'm trying to do right now is save money so that I can live off of it and just focus on music for a while. And so the faster I can make more money, the faster I can get to that point. So making extra money in that sense makes sense for me because I can get to my goal of saving up X amount of money so then I can quit and live off of that money while I try to make the whole music thing work out more. So making extra money makes sense. But it could, apply to a lot of other scenarios too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think either of us necessarily have a ton of experience with having a side hustle. Besides, just the respective businesses we're trying to start, Blue Haven Music and Rector Guitars and Ukuleles. But we're going to be talking today about that and kind of brainstorming some ideas of some things that people with similar skill sets could maybe do to try to make some extra money to fuel their passion or their hobbies or maybe someday their own business.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me with making extra money, and this is actually part of the reason we're talking about this, is I brought this up when Matt and I were talking about like what are we going to do for an episode, because I'm trying to make extra money right now because I don't know, I'm just to the point in my development right now that I feel like, man, there's not enough balance in my life. I'm doing work and then I'm doing music and I just don't have a lot of balance. And if I could just focus on music 100%, I could get better so much faster and closer to my goal so much faster. So if I can save up that money and then live off of that for a while, I could potentially expedite my progress. So I'm trying to figure this out right now on how I can make extra money faster so that I can leave my job sooner. Or at the very least have more bargaining power with like, hey, I could leave, but I don't want to, give me less hours. Like something like that, you know? Anyway, of course, one of the things to think about with making extra money that is freelance sites, right? There's a couple freelance sites out there that I can think of. Fiverr is the one that's probably the most well known. And then there's another one called Upwork. I'm sure there's a lot of other freelance sites out there, but those are the only two that I'm really familiar with. But through those, you can get jobs in a lot of different things like graphic design, photo editing, mixing, making a song for somebody, programming jobs, all sorts of things.
I think a lot of people have more skills that could be put to use than they maybe realize.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's the biggest thing is just time management, right? And I am fortunate that I have a wife who is, or spouse, wife, partner, whatever your particular situation is, um, who is very supportive of my goals. And even when I was working two jobs, was very supportive. I will say that if you have an opportunity to do something where you can sort of dip your toes in to what what you want to do, or something you're related, or something related to what you want to do, I think that's a great way to go. I worked at a music shop doing repairs on stringed instruments part time, in addition to my full time job. So I had two jobs. I worked 6 days a week. And yeah, it was tough at times. Only having one day off a week. Um, you know, it was a sacrifice, but I definitely learned a lot from that, and I made some extra money doing it that I could sort of reinvest into,
Ours.
Rector guitars. I will say that I understand that I don't have any kids. Ethan doesn't have any children, and yeah, well, I
Actually,
mean,
I'm just
well,
kidding.
it's important to remember, certain people who might be listening, like trying to find the time is tough, and it becomes even tougher when you have certain responsibilities,
Yep.
and so that's not lost on me. Um, that's certainly not lost on me. I think part of it just comes down to prioritizing what it is that you want to be important in your life, and also I lost my train of thought.
I think like if you have those extra responsibilities in your life, I get that a kid needs to be like very close to the top of your priority list, if not at the top of your priority list. But
Oh
I
yeah,
still
of
think
course.
I still think there are ways that you can still make time for your business or making extra money. You just have to get a lot more aggressive with your prioritization of time. Um,
Yeah, that's okay. So I remember what I was going to say now. It really had more to do with so a prioritization, making time for those things, and b doing them consistently. And I know we've talked about this before, but doing something a little bit every day is going to get you better results than trying to cram a lot into one day.
yep, yep. The whole 15 minutes a day rather than 3 hours one day every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Like I've been trying to find ways to make more money. It's kind of hard because freelance work is nothing new at this point.
Mm-hmm.
These freelance sites have been around for a while, so I think the competition has gotten kind of saturated. Even for like graphic design or whatever. Um, so I'm still trying to kind of navigate that, but like I'm trying to think of like what are skills that are marketable to other people, like graphic design or photo editing, that will also benefit me as a business if I were to do them for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and graphic design and photo editing are beneficial to a musician because, for example, um, making your own album artwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or making your own website artwork for like pictures of you or whatever. Um, you could outsource that. Um, and you might have better results if you outsource that, but you're also going to pay some money for that. But if you could instead do that yourself, learn that skill yourself, then you could do it for yourself and then also potentially sell that skill to other people. And on top of it, use your work as a portfolio of what you can do. Um, but kind of the area that I'm trying to get into right now is graphic design and like photo editing. And I don't know if that's the right area to get into. I've been kind of doing some searches on like Upwork to see what kinds of jobs are out there for graphic design. But it seems like there's a lot. Um, and that seems like an area that I'm either going to need to hire somebody to do that for me, or I could just do it for myself. So I might as well like learn that skill and potentially have some capability of freelancing and making some extra money off of that skill, but also doing it for myself and not having to pay someone else to do it. Um, and there's just, I mean, in today's modern age of the internet, there's just so many resources out there now that like you could just YouTube stuff and you can pick up a lot of stuff. It's kind of informal training. I know we've talked about this before, informal versus formal training, but um you can pick up a lot with the stuff that's already out there that's completely free. Um and so like right now what I'm trying to do is learn Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. Affinity Photo is like a photo editing software like Photoshop. And Affinity
Mhm.
Designer, I don't know if it's more of like a graphic. I think they call it like a vector design software. But that would be more for like designing logos and that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to like get better at that so I can do more stuff for my brand in my business. But also those are skills that if you get good enough at them, they are marketable to other people. Um, so that's kind of my thought process
Yeah,
right now.
it's a nice compliment, and I would agree with you that anyone who wants to start their own business, having graphic design skills, uh, is really valuable. I mean, you're going to need to market your brand. You're going to need to create artwork, create logos, merchandise, things like that. Um, the ability to do that yourself is super valuable, and I mean, graphic design work. It's not cheap for you know good quality. It's can be pretty expensive. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that can be complementary to pretty much anyone who wants to
Start a
own their
business.
own business. Um,
I mean,
yeah, so I think that's a
the
great idea.
at the time that I purchased it, the Affinity Designer suite that had Affinity Designer, Photo, and one other tool that they have was only like 60 to 80 bucks or something like that. So like, I don't know everyone's financial situation, but for me that was like, hey, I've got a professional photo editing and graphic design software for both of them
Mm-hmm.
for a total of $80. Like, why not? Um,
Mm-hmm.
because I could easily spend. I don't know what's normal, but I could easily spend $80 on someone designing a logo for me. So it's like,
You could spend $80 going out to dinner.
yeah. So I was like, that just seems like something that's worth picking up and learning. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. I know Adobe's the like gold standard of all this stuff now, like graphic design and stuff with and photo editing, but man, like I don't want to pay a subscription. I'm tired of subscriptions. Like I want something I can
Yeah,
buy
that's
outright and call it a day, you
that
know?
could be an entire podcast episode. I agree with you, but it's just the way things are now. But it's annoying.
Um but anyway, that's kind of where I'm at is like my focus right now is Photoshop or not Photoshop, but like photo editing and graphic design
Mm-hmm.
type of stuff and trying to get better at that. Unfortunately, right now the disadvantage of that is I have an upfront cost of learning those pieces of software and getting them better at them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's going to take a little bit of time, but I need to have that skill anyway for my like album artwork is just kind of an expectation and like um I think there's other like opportunities you can discover by becoming a better like graphic designer and photo editor. Like things you could do with your website that you wouldn't otherwise
Mm-hmm.
think about if you weren't a graphic designer or photo editor. You know what I mean? Um
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
so I don't know if that's the best route to make more money. I'm also a programmer, so there is freelance work out there for programming. Um so that's an option too.
Do you
Um
have any fear that that's a bit of a detour? Like, I do think graphic design skills can be very valuable, like I was just saying, but we're kind of talking about right now. Our end goal is to turn what is currently a hobby or side hustle, sort of eventually into a full time business, right?
mhm.
That's sort of the end goal. So we're kind of talking about making extra money on the side it's almost like a side hustle to fuel our side hustle.
Yeah.
Are you ever fearful that that's too much? We talked about prioritizing time management. Um, do you ever think it would be better just to be entirely focused on the music production thing and making as much money as you can off of that?
Yes, it's the whole like having a plan A and a plan B and like the whole you should never have a plan B because plan A should be the only thing that you're going after. I get that. Um and I could devote all of my time to finding freelance work for music and maybe that would be the right route to go. Um but on the flip side, like I think the part of the issue with freelance work is it's not always very consistent. And so like you might be really really good at this skill of like mixing, but if on these freelance sites there isn't always work for mixers, um
Mm-hmm.
like you might not have work because your skill set is so siloed. Um so like part of it is like I already know I need graphic design, I already know I need photo editing to like run a business and to be have like album art and all this other stuff for Blue Haven Music, and like I could pay someone for that, or I could learn it and then also sell that as a skill, and then have more
Mm-hmm.
flexibility in the freelance realm. I mean, to be honest, I don't know what the right answer is, and I don't. I think different people have made it work in different ways. Um, I think some people have made it so that they have a plan A and a plan B, and plan B is what they rely on for a while, but they eventually do return to plan A. And I believe that there are people out there that have only a plan A and no plan B, and they make that work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if I really subscribe to the idea that there's only one way to be successful. Um, but I do understand the whole do you feel like you're making a detour? You know? Um, maybe. But a lot of this stuff that I'm working on, like graphic design and photo editing, like I work on music until 6 o'clock, and then that's my cutoff. And then from there on out, I pretty much just like if I don't have anything else going on that evening, I just sit on the couch and watch TV, and like that's the perfect opportunity to just like play around with a photo editing software and just try to like get a handle for it, right? Especially like if it's not formal training, you're just kind of playing with the software and just trying to figure out how it works and experimenting and that kind of stuff. That can almost be fun and relaxing in and of itself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying though. I just don't have a conclusive right answer as to whether I think this is the right or
Well, and
wrong
I
move.
don't. It wasn't meant to be a question with a right answer. It was just, I guess, meant to provoke
To get me
conversation.
angry. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just to piss you off specifically.
Pretty easy to
Um,
piss me off.
just to be contrary to what you said. Actually, Um.
You know that I enjoy that.
Oh yeah. Uh. Anyway, so here are a couple idea. I guess unless you had anything else to share off the top of your head.
Nope, go for it.
So here are a couple ideas that I had, maybe for someone who's a luthier or woodworker. Um, so I've actually had neighbors ask me to build them different pieces of furniture, fix pieces of furniture for them. I've sold my instruments, I guess, but that's sort of related to the main thing. A lot of general woodworking stuff. If you have the tools already, uh, it's not really a stretch to too much of a stretch to use that to your advantage and make money from that in a different way. There are plenty of people who uh, are doing making money on the side or full time, just selling little wooden handmade products that they've made online.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's you might not be building guitars all the time, but you can at least be making money doing woodworking and, if nothing else, developing your hand skills. Um, I think that that's a good way that woodworkers can maybe make some extra money. Um, or I guess luthiers can make some extra money. Another thing is, if you're just starting out, don't start out on a guitar. Like, if you would be upset if the guitar got damaged, like if it would really kill you if like the guitar got damaged or like something, or if it's someone else's instrument and you don't really feel 100% confident, then don't work on it, in my opinion. Yes, you need to challenge yourself sometimes, um, but musical instruments can be really precious to people.
Mm-hmm.
They're very personal to people and they're very personal to musicians. And if you don't feel confident working on someone's instrument, be honest about that and don't risk damage something that could be really precious to someone.
Sure.
But that said, you can get started with a really small budget. Yes, there are some tools that you have to get. That should be an episode. I like a minimal toolkit to get started in like doing simple setups or something like that. And get started just doing some simple basic setup work, and do it on your own instruments if you feel confident enough. Maybe you've got an old guitar that you don't really play that much anymore that you could breathe some life back into and get more use out of. Um, or there's lots of inexpensive instruments out there on Marketplace and Craigslist and that sort of thing. People who tried to pick it up as a hobby. Yeah, of course there are high-end instruments, but you can buy, a guitar or something for $100, $200, less than $100. For someone who just wants to get rid of something. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it can give you a chance to practice on it. And if you fix up the guitar and make it a better instrument and you want to keep it and play it, then great. Or you can resell it for, possibly more money than what you bought it for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another way is you can start flipping instruments. I mean, there are people who started flipping instruments with, $100 guitar, and then maybe they sell it for $200 and they take that $200 and buy a $200 guitar, and then they flip that guitar for $500, So, if you go down that path, you can make money doing that. And then the final sort of idea I had, if you are doing stuff with Lutherie already, if you already feel confident, I guess this is sort of related to a main business, a main Lutherie related repair business, but something that I don't see a lot of luthiers doing that I've seen a couple people doing is just to differentiate yourself. Convenience is important in this day and age. We live in a world sort of instant gratification. Amazon has made it so easy to just, buy something just a few clicks away.
Yep.
And people live busy lives too. And I've seen some techs and luthiers who offer repair services, and they offer a pickup and drop off. So rather than the person having to come to you, you go pick up their instrument and then do their setup and bring it back to them. And then you can charge a premium because you're providing that service. So you could, don't you don't want to waste too much of your time or money driving all around, but you could sort of set an idea of like a radius around you that you want to use. Um, and maybe just pick like one day a week where that's your day that you do pickups and deliveries. So it's not something like you have to commit to doing every day. Set aside a few hours once a week to do pickups and deliveries. And it also gives you an opportunity if you're not established enough to have like a real physical, like a big shop space or something, like in a commercial building or something like that. Maybe you just have a home workshop, but you don't necessarily want to invite strangers into your home. It gives you a way to grow your business out of your own home without having that potential risk.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, and I mean sometimes that's one of the biggest difficulties is of starting a business is having the capital to like rent a space or buy a
Mm-hmm.
space or whatever. So um that makes sense. I think I think one of the things is like what skills are you going to already need for the business you're trying to get into, and then how can you use that skill set to hit more markets than what you're trying to hit, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
and I know that can sound like a divergence, but like you're still using the same skills that you're trying to develop. And like I don't know, I mean some people are like you need to master one thing and that's all you need to do and you need to become amazing at it and that's it. And like I think that works for some people, but I also think that makes you vulnerable to if there is no work for that one specific thing that you're really good at, then you're hosed. Um, but if you have some flexibility, you can adapt to if there's a little bit less work with say mixing, right? Um, maybe I can in that in the meantime maybe I can do a little bit of album artwork design for some other artist, right? And make some money that way. Or there's a lot of different things. Um I think it just gives you some flexibility. Um I think mastery you and I might actually I'm not sure where you are on this, but like um mastery can be very good, but I think being pretty good at a lot of skills can also give you a lot more adaptability depending on what the job market is asking and what it's needing and all that stuff. Um, I don't know. Like obviously, ideally, eventually, I want to get into just making music all the time, but I also don't hate graphic design, and I don't hate video editing, and I don't hate photo editing. Like I can get some artistic enjoyment out of those things as well, and then I can also use them for my business. So I don't know. Like I'm a work in progress on this, but I know like right now I'm trying to make extra money because I want to quit sooner and focus on music. So I'm just trying to figure out what are all the ways to do that.
Sure. Yeah.
Go to a
Um,
casino.
and there you go. Yeah. Win big. Go all in, man. No, I think on the question of mastery, I mean, I guess having a wider skill set is generally a good thing. I just think I don't think that's really there. I don't think there's any argument against that. I think the argument becomes should your efforts be more focused on one specific thing, becoming the best in that thing.
Yeah.
Um, and is that a better use of time than becoming, potentially really good in a lot of things. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I have like I think it varies by who you are in your industry, and what your goals are. So I don't know that there's a hard and fast rule to that. Um, I think for Luthery, it is there has to be a certain focus on mastery,
Yep.
for builders who want to be like hand build instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, I would venture to guess a lot of like the greatest, guitar makers in the world, like while they have like probably very high levels of skill with woodworking in general, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a great carpenter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's a very different skill set. Um, there's definitely some crossover, but whether or not pursuing carpentry would be a good use of time, I'm not really sure.
Sure.
Um, I guess since we're talking about the subject of mastery, do you feel like you're at a point where you could teach a class? Because that can be a way to make some money as well.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, there's always people that are less skilled and educated than I am, and I could teach those people. But there's also still at the same time, but it's always going to be this way. There's always so much more I could learn too. Like, um, so I don't know. I mean, I'm still learning from a teacher, right? Like, um, and
I think it's kind of funny when we talk about concepts of like mastery, because a lot of times that's not always very measurable, and like, you'll hear the term like, oh, this is like, he's a master luthier, or like he's a master woodworker, master cabinet maker, like in woodworking trades, um, or woodworking related, or actually a lot of just sort of manual trades, and like a master electrician. Um, and for some of those, there is a like a quantifiable, or at least set of qualifications that you have to meet. Like I know that there's, I think, a set. I don't really know. I don't know about being an electrician.
you probably have to be
Full
licensed as
disclosure.
an
But like,
electrician in
yeah,
your
like,
state or something like that.
but for a lot of things like luthery, there's no like. At what point are you a master luthier? Like that's so. What does that even mean? I dislike a lot of terms like that, because like a lot of times they really just don't mean anything. Um, and sometimes I think we have more to offer to people than we think we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it is really important to make sure that you have something of value, and that it's well organized and well thought out. If you're going to teach a class or something like that, especially because we talked about this a little bit earlier, but I see so many different like online courses everywhere for this, that, and the other, of like all these coaches for different things. And that's all over social media. And a lot of these people really don't have a lot of experience. And I think a lot of them, frankly, I think a lot of them are just scammers. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're going to do something like that, you need to have some level of experience, and you need to make sure that you have something valuable to offer. And uh, yeah, so
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, yes, it's an option. Um, I still feel like I have a lot to learn. Does that mean that I don't couldn't teach somebody something, or teach a lot of things for somebody who is not at the same development level as I am? Sure. Um, but like you said, there's so many like teaching classes out there now that like it's even like the online course market is very saturated now. Um, and so sure I could do that. Um,
To me, it's a red flag when they promise things that seem too good to be true.
yeah,
Like, like guitar lesson courses you'll see
you'll
online
become
where
a
it's like,
master guitarist by the end of month one or something.
yeah, or like master the guitar fretboard in a month. Like, I mean, you can learn the where all the notes are in a month, sure. Like, um, yeah, things like that, or like you don't need to know any music theory to like, and you don't need to know music theory to be a great musician, but I don't know. I think there are a lot of things like that. They're like, learning guitar should be easy. I'm like, should it be easy? Like, really? If it was easy, then why isn't everyone doing it? Like,
Yeah. It's just yeah, some of that's just advertising. But um I don't know, yeah, like teaching an online course is a way to make some passive income. Um right now my focus is in freelance work and I don't know if that's the right direction, but I'm still trying to figure all this out. Like and
mm-hmm.
yeah, you're right, like if you're going to do this, you don't want to devote a bunch of extra time to this side hustle that is a detour from your actual side hustle. So like it's a balancing act in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think it's nice to have flexibility and especially if you can kill two birds with one stone like learning graphic design so you can do your own album artwork and then do it for somebody else or some other type of photo editing. Like that can be a very there can be a lot of overlap there where it's worth you learning that skill for your business, but also to sell that skill. Um, so some of it I think is maybe just being strategic about the skills that you end up learning. Make sure, like, if you are going to learn a new skill to freelance it and sell it to somebody, like, make sure, first of all, it's a skill that people are actually looking for. And then, second of all, like, is it a skill that you could use in your business to save money, to be a more effective entrepreneur, those sorts of things. Um, again, I'm not an expert on this. I am figuring it out right now. So, like, keep that in mind.
Yeah. I think that's about all that I had. I guess the reason I brought up the classes was I've had some people express a little bit of interest in doing like a beginner's hand tool woodworking class or like a build a ukulele like type of class. Um, and I think I could actually teach a class like that. Could I teach a comprehensive course on like lutherie in general or violin making or something? No. Could I teach you know a basic ukulele building class? I think so. Or a an introduction to hand tool woodworking class. Yeah, I think so. Um,
Maybe you
but
should.
yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll see where that goes. But I think that's all I had for today. Let us know if you guys have any ideas about little side hustles
Yeah,
and
I
extra
think that'd
ways
be
to
good.
make some money.
If any of our listeners have any ideas, please do share because I am looking for ideas right now. So,
If you'd like to donate to uh, the Matt Rector Trust Fund, I don't know, the Matt Rector charity, then let me know.
the GoFundMe.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and become a patron on my Patreon. I do actually have a Patreon now.
Smash that like button and hit the subscribe.
Yeah. Make sure you follow so you don't miss a drop.
Yeah.
All that YouTube creator stuff. Anyway, no, I don't have anything else. I'm actually quite tired. It's late here. It's even later where Matt is, so I think we're ready to wrap
Yeah.
this one up.
We've had a engaging night of some chaotic conversation.
Drama. Gotta like the drama.
Anyway, you want to take us out, Ethan?
Yes, I do. That is all we have for episode 34. Until next time, stay tuned. And stay pruned.